All right, welcome back to another episode of Tea Time with the Rowan family. We are a chaotic but fun-loving family of 7, and we're here to answer your questions.
Why do you sound like a game show host?
This is kind of what it feels like.
We're not chaotic all the time.
Sometimes enough to mention it as a description.
It's true. And today we are going to be spilling the tea on a ton of really good, juicy questions about our parenting fails, embarrassments,
A little bit
tips,
of marriage.
like a question about marriage.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good one. I'm kind of excited for this one, actually.
I am as well. So we actually took liberty and asked Chat GPT, some questions. So if you're wondering where we came up with these, we didn't.
We'll ask you guys soon. I get a lot of questions on different social media, but I need to compile them or just do a full day. So we'll do a poll, or if you have any questions after listening to this, you can add it in the comments and we will answer those next week. But yes, Chat GPT did not disappoint.
It did not.
It did not.
So anyway, and full disclosure, we did look over these questions briefly.
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Yeah, and Nicole speed reads. So I think I got 5 of the 10, 50% of the questions that I actually remember what they are. So we'll see what they are. So anyway, stay tuned. This is going to be fun.
Yes.
I'm ready, not ready.
Yes. Also, do you guys know that I do multiple tea bags in my tea?
Yes, I do.
I have to have 3 to 5 at a minimum. And all of my tea drinkers, you're going to hate me. I'm so sorry. Okay, if I'm going to power up and I'm going to get the turmeric and the ginger and the green tea, I'm going to do it all at once. So if you ever wonder, why is she psycho with 3 things? I am. So here we are.
I'm definitely only a 1 type of tea bag person.
It's actually very, our personalities. It's very,
That's true.
Very in tune with it.
I do not like mixing flavors. I don't want it overpowered. I do steep it though for 5 minutes, so
proper
that makes it
steeping.
a little bit stronger.
Okay, let's get to the questions.
Okay, all right. Fire away.
Okay, so the first question. Gosh, there's so many good ones though. Okay, we'll just start at the top. There's 10 of them. Okay, we're gonna go quick. Number 1, what's something you swore you'd never do as a parent, but totally end up doing? What did we say about this one? What's something you swore you'd never do?
I think, okay, well, little caveat. I didn't swear that I would never do this.
Yeah.
But I think that, not that we do it all the time, but we both said, I think at one point, that based on studies, we were not going to let our kids watch a screen until
they're 5.
4 or 5, I think.
There was some kind of study that came out that I saw right when we were having babies. And it basically said you're going to ruin your child's development if you let them watch any kind of screen before age 5. And so we were pretty great about them not seeing screens. But then, Cocomelon or music or fun little
Bible
things.
stories. They started watching Bible stories not really early, not 1. I think we waited till about 2.
No, I think that they were 3.
Oh.
I really do think they were around 3.
Okay. Well, Rad was younger because as soon as we hit our RV season, if you've never heard that story, we'll tell that later.
Yeah.
We definitely had a little bit more screen time than normal
a lot
while we were on the road.
But that is a good answer. We didn't think that we would let them watch anything before age 5. And we are very strict about what our kids watch, and they don't just have control of the remote. They don't just watch TV every day. Yeah. It's very specific, but we did definitely start watching
Bible stories
things. Yeah.
So anyway, that's something that I think that we did earlier than we anticipated.
Yeah.
Or originally planned.
You have all these thoughts, right? Before you have kids, of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And maybe it's not something you swore by, but you have this thing inside of you, I'm not going to do this. And then you become a parent and you just have to just let your pride go and humble yourself and learn along the way. It's a journey. I mean, we've been parents for 9.5 years, and I'm
almost a decade.
Still humbled every day. So if you're watching this and you're not a parent, just prepare to be humbled. And if you are watching this and you're a parent, you totally understand. And there's a lot of grace for all of us.
Totally.
Right? We're all doing our best. So
Okay, question
keep going.
2.
Okay, number 2. What's the most chaotic or funniest thing that's happened in your house with 5 kids?
Oh man.
What's the most chaotic or funniest thing?
Okay, I'll tell one story.
Okay. I don't even know what you're going to say.
Well, there's one story is that I had left for the gym early in the morning. I think around it was when I was trying to get up and do like 5 o'clocks and be back because I no longer had a gym in my garage, nonetheless. So I come back at like 6:15 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I walk into the kitchen. Everything starts quiet, and all of a sudden I hear like yelling and singing and banging and all sorts of things coming from the garage. And so lo and behold, Nicole's sawing Z's upstairs. Roselle's still asleep, but all of the boys, that was Rorik, Rad, and Revington, are doing circles running around in the garage. Rorik, I believe, had a pair of scissors. I think.
Oh my, this is giving me anxiety just listening to this story.
Rad had like maybe a hammer or something from my tool bag, and he was banging on the ground, and Revington was pulling everything off the shelves, like just, and it was it was all party supplies. So there was like a tinsel.
Oh, I remember the party supplies.
And confetti and all sorts of stuff, because she used to keep like birthday things like in storage in the garage, and he just like, it was like something you see out of a movie.
Okay, can you remind the people, what time was this, do you think?
6 in the morning. It was 6 in the morning. So I had come back at 6 in the morning. They had all snuck downstairs, and it was just utter chaos. Now, thankfully, it was in the garage. So, and no one got hurt. No one got, stabbed by scissors or, a toe hit with the hammer or whatever. But it was just one of those things. We have lots of stories, but that was just the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, that's traumatic enough. Honestly, this is why we had to put like baby cameras in our kids' room, so we would get notified if they left their room in the morning at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Oh my gosh, I just thought of the craziest story. Okay. I don't even know if I should tell this one. Ooh. One of our children who left our vacation home.
Oh gosh. I don't know, it's kind of a long
story. Does that count? Or
it's kind of, I can tell the quick version unless you want to. Go for it. Do it.
Basically, the 30-second version is we went on vacation with some friends. We're staying in a big house, and
early in the morning,
one of our children left our vacation home very early, you guys, like very, very early out the front door, crossed the street. Now, luckily, like this neighborhood was a very nice, like short, small street neighborhood, if that makes sense. And he went and had breakfast with the people across the street.
Our it was a vacation home, so it was our neighbors, the neighbors that we had no idea who they were. He had seen a dog in their front yard, I think, and followed the dog.
Someone's probably
their house.
We shouldn't even tell this story. Someone's probably gonna think. Anyways, because we were in a vacation home, like there wasn't the certain locks that we like have on our doors or security or like the cameras that we have in our kids' rooms because we need to be notified if they leave. Anyways. It was an older child. It wasn't like a super young child, but either way, I probably shouldn't have. I shouldn't have told the story. It was an older couple, and they're very precious, totally precious. Praise God. Anyways, okay, so moving on. Number 3, how do you divide parenting responsibilities, and what's one thing that you each refuse?
Okay. One thing is that I do the mornings. So unless, sometimes you do, but for the most part, I will wake up early with the kids. I do all the breakfast, lunch packing.
Kind of get the day going.
Getting them ready for basically wherever they're going for that day. Whether that be school or, we homeschool. So, we have varying things going on throughout the week.
Different programs and stuff.
Anyway, short thing is that's probably my most consistent responsibility is getting up with all the kids, doing breakfast, and making sure that they're ready for whatever they got going on. So I would say that. And then mama steps in usually whenever they are actually going somewhere. So you get to play chauffeur, at least for the former half of the day. And then, you're on baby duty and stuff. And then the other responsibility that I do very consistently two things is our youngest, will not go to sleep with her.
I'm just a ball of fun.
I thought that may have changed when she stopped breastfeeding just recently, but he still doesn't really do that. So most naps, definitely at night, I'm the one that rocks him to sleep.
Which is kind of sad. Like, he literally will not go to sleep with me. I will rock him.
We've got our little routine.
I do everything that he does. And Rush is like, doop.
It's like our bonding time.
It's just like hangout time for him.
And at least whenever I'm available or home, I change all diapers.
And that just started with the sleeping situation when I started to wean him, or when he started to cut back on breastfeeding, because I put him down as a newborn. Like, really, the entire first year of his life, he went down with me. It was just like right when I started cutting out certain feedings is when you started to take him.
Yeah.
But yes, we kind of have an unspoken rule that if he's home, he changes the diaper, because I'm with the baby all day, every day, and I change all those diapers.
So today, a quick story. I was on a meeting.
It was bad.
And all I hear is, Paris, I need your help. And I'm thinking like something has happened. Like there's been some kind of traumatic event. Someone's hurt. I don't know.
There was, actually.
And so
there was.
I come in and Nicole's got a fistful of wipes with poop on it. And Rush is here on the couch, wide-eyed
on a pad
with his legs up and poop everywhere. And he's got poop on his shirt. She's like, I've got poop all over me. I need you to take over.
So I was holding him today, and he didn't have like a shirt or pants on because it was warm out. We were outside in the sun, so he had a diaper on. And so I'm holding him on my waist, and I'm actually on a phone call, and I feel something wet. And I'm just thinking it's sweat. So I'm just loving on my boy. We're hanging out in the kitchen. I mean, I held him for probably, 10 minutes. And I'm like, gosh, we're like really sweating. So like I go to pull him off. And when I do, just poop straight down my. So I was like trying to roll that up, trying to wipe him. I don't like poop. I can do throw up. I don't like poop.
I don't like vomit. So it kind of works out.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. How has your parenting style changed from your first child to your youngest?
I'll let you start because I've started all the other ones.
From first child to, I think that we've become more flexible. So
that's fair.
Is flexible the right word, actually?
In some respects. How flexible do you think?
We've had to just not care about minor things. Like, when we just had one or two kids, we dressed them really well. They were super cute. Hair was combed. Bows were put in. Gel was given to, our oldest. Everything was great. But when you have this many children, you're like, did you brush your hair today? You didn't? All right, let's go. You have to let go of some of these things. So I think parenting style has changed.
We have some non-negotiables.
In a good way.
Brushing teeth is kind of like a non-negotiable. You don't have an option there.
I'm not saying hygiene has completely gone to the dumps.
You brushed your hair out.
I just mean we can't focus on every little thing all of the time. We can't survive. The other thing that I would say is, I don't know if this is technically parenting style, but having a schedule, like just getting more and more consistent with like dinners as a family, and making sure we're actually going to bed at bedtime at the correct time every night. Yeah. Before we'd be like, yeah, we can go to this hangout, or we can go to this thing, or we can stay up late. It's no big deal. And that's really changed over the years, because with more children truly is more responsibility, and you want them to get sleep, and you want them to be on a schedule so that you have your sanity. And so I think my parenting style has changed a bit in that way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Would you add anything else?
I think one other add is that, at least for our two oldest, Rorik and Rosella, we were very strict with eating styles.
Oh, yes.
So I don't think they had, aside from fruit.
They didn't have grain or sugar for probably
first 2 years. I think.
Probably like closer to 3.5 or 4.
Well, maybe for Rorik, but Rosella too, because that's when Rad was born.
Yeah.
Anyway, that it's hard because if you do any kind of like treat where you're like, okay, we kind of had like when you're 2, we can start introducing other food groups that we wouldn't do before, like certain kind of sugars.
Yeah.
Anyway, all I have to say is that when they hit that step, but then you have a younger sibling, it's really hard to be like, okay, you can't have that, but you can have that. And so as a natural progression, I feel like Rad, Rev, and Rush have had things a little sooner than Rorik and Rosella have in terms of, unhealthy foods. So we still try to eat very healthy, but
and when we say unhealthy, like, the other day someone gave Rush a vitamin C pop.
Yeah.
I don't even know that there's added sugar. It's a vitamin C lollipop, but we would never have given our 1.5-year-old that prior. But one of the other kids were like, "Oh, you want one?" And he loved it, you guys. I mean, he was so cute walking around licking his little lollipop. And we were, of course, like watching him super close for like choking, or because he's never had a lollipop before, we're just like, "Oh my gosh, but why are you so adorable?" So
but yeah, each younger sibling has benefited by having treats a little earlier in life.
Bless their bodies. Okay, number 5. What's one piece of marriage advice that has helped you stay connected while raising kids?
Okay, so this is something that is fresh on my mind because we just, I would say, more religiously or consistently started doing this. We actually talked about this in one of our other tea times.
Maybe.
But we started doing once a week date night, non-negotiable. And we said that 3 of them were okay with at least 3 of them being in the house. So I think moving around, having a big family, finding a sitter, all that kind of stuff, and those aren't great excuses, but they're excuses nonetheless. It became harder and harder for us to like go out on a date. And so we just finally came to the point where it was like, you know what? Just as long as we're being intentional, we can even order food in, or we can cook it separate and have some kind of like fun agenda. We can do it here. And then it's so much easier to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that having that intentional once a week time, and we spend quite a bit of time together in the evenings, I think. But having that has been a game changer, I feel like. And it's been fun. It's like, and we switch off. So I have like one week where I come up with something fun and I come up with the menu or order the food or whatever, and then the next week she does. So it's also been fun and kind of creative to do that.
I think the intentionality is the piece that's really important because I don't need to go out every week. That honestly would feel, I don't know, a little overwhelming. I'd rather have like an afternoon out, but obviously can't do that in this phase of life. And so the intentionality of those date nights have been really helpful for us, I think.
Yep.
And switching off, has been great. Okay, number 6. What's the most embarrassing parenting moment you've ever had in public?
Most embarrassing. Ooh.
Okay, so one time I had all the kids at a park and some other kid came over and said to me like, "Excuse me, are you so-and-so's mom?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, he said this word to me. And I went, "No, honey, my kid doesn't know what that word is." And the kid walks away and comes back and says it again, like, "Hey, your kid said," I'm like, "My kid did not say that." So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put a kibosh to this. So I walk over to my kid to figure out, like, why is this other kid saying this thing? Like, where's the parent of this other kid, And as I'm walking over, I hear my child say this word. And I can't remember the exact word anymore. It wasn't a curse word, but it was just like not a fun word.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed. I was shocked. Really, I was just embarrassed for myself. Like, there's lots of things that our kids do in public that I think would embarrass the typical person or average person.
Yeah.
I don't really get embarrassed often because I would just be embarrassed all the time with all of these hoodlums,
Yeah.
But that was pretty.
Embarrassing.
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah. I think for me, and to me, this is a little bit vulnerable, but so we've had plenty of meltdowns. I mean, we've got 5 kids. They're all fairly young. So we've had our fair share of like being in the grocery store or, going to the gym or something. And some kid just lays out, screaming in the middle of the lobby because they forgot something or whatever. Honestly, that stuff is a bummer. And I don't enjoy it because it's inconvenient and you don't want your kids screaming. But that isn't quite as embarrassing to me as acts of defiance. I'm a little bit more embarrassed by acts of defiance. So if I say to someone, "Hey, we need to go," and and they say, "No, I'm not leaving," something like that is a little bit more embarrassing to me because I'm like, I didn't raise you that way. Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things of like, whoa, like makes your blood boil. But, obviously not that I'm going to yell at them whether there's people there or not, but it's just one of those things of like, wow, that is embarrassing that you just responded to me that way.
Yeah.
So I'm never a fan of acts of defiance. That's the one that kind of gets me going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's good. Okay. How do you deal with mom guilt or dad guilt, and what's something you wish more parents knew?
How do I deal with it though? Not what. That's how do I deal with it?
Yeah. How do you deal with it, and what's something you wish more parents knew?
Yeah. I feel like most of my guilt comes after the kids go to bed. So, or in lull moments. So it's like you kind of reflect on your day and you're like, ooh, I could have done that better. Or man, why did I tell him that I couldn't do that then and then never got around to it? So I feel like that's when I struggle most with dad guilt. I think two things that I've tried to practice in hindsight, based on what I just said in terms of, not getting around to something, or maybe I got frustrated and, came on too strong in a situation versus keeping my cool. One is not being afraid to say sorry. So, it's never too late to say sorry. Kids have probably a better memory than you think in certain cases. So there have been times where I've come to the end of the day. It may have been just completely chaotic. And I'm like, man, I lost my cool. I didn't respond really well. And I hate it when it's like they've already gone to sleep and this thing is passed and I didn't catch it in time. So even if it's next day, it's like, hey, buddy, no, yesterday, you remember when this happened? I'm sorry, I didn't handle that super well. Can you forgive me? I think even though they're kids, even though they're little, I still think that them seeing us apologize to them, because for sure I make them, not make them, but like, hey, you need to apologize to your brother. That was not cool.
Yeah.
So being able to see their parents do it, come in humility because we're not perfect. I think that's one way that I take care of, having dad guilt. And if there is something where I didn't get to, in the day where I was like, I should have done that, I try to keep my promises as much as possible. But if not, then there's a way of like, hey, buddy, I'm sorry, let's make this up by doing this today. I'm going to make time, and we're going to do this. So I think that's probably two things.
I think honestly, the biggest one for me has been, this might sound so silly to some of you, but because there are so many kids that are young, like our kids are very close in age, I kind of stopped buying all of the crafty things that I did maybe with the first two, like the glitter or, the craft papers or like the different things like this, because it just feels like a mess to me. And then you see like all these curated things on social media and it's like, look at what I created with my child today. And I'm thinking like, that sounds awful. Because it's like going to be a big mess, or they're going to fight over it, or anyway. I feel like that's probably the biggest one for me. I think about like those little, or like I don't take the kids to the library because they don't know how to be quiet in the library. And I don't want to tell them, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet,
Yeah, not all of them. I would say that maybe if you took one or two of them to the library, you'd be fine.
But all together, they're a party, And so I've thought like, oh no, I'm not the library mom. Now we do a lot of reading and they love books, but going to the library for like story time, like it's just not going to happen. Yeah. And I've had to like not allow that to be guilt, but just to realize like we're a big family and there are things that's going to be different than if I just had one or two.
Yeah.
So that would be mine. Okay. Sure. Number 8.
Sure.
Ready? What's one thing you wish someone had told you before having a big family? Maybe we could phrase this like, what's one piece of advice you could have known?
Yeah. With having a big family, I think, maybe you're going to have to go first while I think. Do you have anything?
I would say like the piece of advice for having a big family is, this is going to sound so silly, but all the little Tupperwares, they're gone. You got to get the big, like, what size are those?
Are you talking about the glass containers?
The glass
Oh, yeah.
containers.
That's like
You know,
a
like the
12 by
casserole.
8 or something.
Yeah. Like little tips like that.
Oh,
Like
you're going practical. Nice.
I
like
know,
it.
like you're going to need to cook in bulk. Like long are the days where you just cook like one thing of chicken. You need to buy 4.
That's fair.
You know, like you need to buy multiple packages of all the things because when you have multiple kids, like a big family, things are just different. And I don't know that I am a practical person, but that felt like that's a big shift from what normal families do, or like taking our kids to supper, taking them out to dinner. No, because it's going to be $300 for some burger and fries, and it's not good food for them. It doesn't make them feel good. It doesn't, bring nutrients to their body. It's complete chaos and it's not fun for anybody. And it's like, I thinking about like taking 1 or 2 kids to dinner is like, oh, that sounds so fun. But like taking our crew, it's just not fun. And so like, that's just something that goes into having a big family. Schedules, making sure that you're getting, your schedules like us on track. Every week we have a meeting on Sunday to go over the schedule and making sure that things that are priority actually get priority and that we are in tune with our schedule. Like if you're not a schedule person, when you become a big family, you kind of have to become one because if not, it's wild. So you just have to have a little bit of like this plan in there.
Yeah, I think the planning is a big one, even with food, like you said, dinners, all that kind of stuff. Other practicals is like thinking about car size. We didn't really. I mean, obviously, as we started to have more kids, it became apparent like we're gonna have to get a bigger car. Yeah. But I don't think we ever envisioned having a Transit, or a very large passenger van that we're gonna roll around in.
I love it though.
Oh, we love it. But there are some things where, but advice for someone else to give me, I think we're still in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like there are some things too where I feel like someone could tell you something, but you're not really going to get it until you're in it. And I don't know if there's really any advice that anybody could have given me prior to having 5 kids that would have been like the light bulb moment. Because I think even if you only have 1 kid, you quickly find that your life is not as much your own, And so I do feel like that's highlighted a little bit more even with 5 kids versus 1, just because of the dynamics of attention or who needs what. You're definitely pulled in multiple directions more than just, one direction. So there is that. But
one thing that I would add that I think was huge, we've talked about this a lot, is when you have kids, and this isn't necessarily just for a big family, like when you start to have children or you have children, your friendships change. Your friend group changes. And I don't know that I could have seen that coming, not in a bad way, but we have 5 children. Yeah. Like for someone to invite us over for dinner, they have to probably like us, and our children, because we're 7 people over for dinner. We're not, a couple and a little baby. Yeah. We're a big crew. And so I think the advice that I would give is like when you start to have kids, just be okay with your friendships changing and knowing that, God will send you who needs to be in your life, but there will probably be people that aren't going to be like your family friends. But then how beautiful it has been for us to even learn what it means to have family friends. You ever hear like your parents or someone say like, oh, we've been friends for 20 years. We raised our kids together. Like, I love that because it's just so beautiful to think that you raised your kids with another family and that you have all these memories and all these years together. But finding those where you click and where it works it can be challenging.
It can be. Yep.
So that would be like the other piece of advice I think I would give.
That's good.
Okay, next one. Number 9, only 2 more to go. Well, including this one. Have your kids ever called you out on something funny or hypocritical? Something funny? Or
they definitely have.
Oh.
Rosella is, I feel like, always calling me out on
There's no filter with these kids. I mean, the things I want to share I probably can't share on camera.
Okay. I don't remember what it was, but I'm trying to think now of what it. Oh my gosh! So Rosella called me out on something because I was telling Revington he was losing his stuff in the car. He was crying about something inconsolable, and it was one of those silly things like, I don't know, his water dropped or something. And so I just remember saying something like, what did I say? Anyway, I said something in an effort, a last minute effort to try and console him that may have been borderline truthful. And Rosella was just like, he's just saying that to get you to calm down, Revington.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, Rosella, you are not helping right now. It's not a lie. It's not a lie, but I'm trying to, come on. Anyway, the older ones catch on to, the little tactics that you try to employ. And anyway, you get caught a lot easier. We can't spell anymore.
Yeah, we can't spell like anymore. C-A-N-D-Y, candy. Like, hey, do you have any C-A-N-D-Y? And they're like, we know what that is. That's candy. It's like,
but I forgot the question. What's the question?
Funny or
called you. Yes, yeah. So they'll call us out now on our spelling. So a couple of them that know how to spell can't get away with that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and the kids are so honest. Like, I remember right after having one of the babies, the youngest had said, like, Mom, why is your belly so fluffy? It's like, really? And it's because I housed you, and then I birthed you, okay? And then I housed your sibling and birthed your sibling. But it's just funny things like that, where it's just they say the darndest things, truly. They're very honest, and they don't know what's like appropriate, which I tell them, like, in our house, you can say these things, but I'm like, hey, probably wouldn't want to say that to someone outside of our home.
Yeah.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice before you became parents, what would it be?
Oh, it's another one of those advice ones.
I would have had babies earlier. That's my newfound advice for everyone.
I liked that. The 5 years was nice.
It was too long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we waited.
What should it have been? 3?
Like 2, 3, yeah.
Okay.
We waited 5 years before we had kids. And, lots of people say, like, focus on your career and build your career and do this and do that and travel and see the world and ba. And honestly, it's a bunch of baloney. I mean, sure, there are, like, positive things to it, right? But I don't think we needed to be married for 5 years to wait to have kids.
Yeah.
Like, I think we could have, because my entire 30s was having children. And I think that could have been done by like 35 if I would have just started a few years earlier.
Yeah. I think that this isn't necessarily advice that I wish I had been given, but I always appreciate the advice when it is given. And that is just keep your kids rooted in Scripture. So basically, what is your filter for teaching them things? Like, obviously, we highly value education just generally, but one of our biggest values is just their relationship with Jesus. And so I feel like when we're having, because we've had plenty of things like, oh my goodness, someone's had an attitude for, it feels like, the past month. What is that thing? And so,
always something.
I think having people around us who are able to speak into our lives as it pertains to parenting, it doesn't always have to be novel. It doesn't always have to be new. It's just like this basic reminder of, okay, are you bringing them back to Jesus? Are you bringing them back to that intent versus just behavior modification or whatever it might be, which, modification is great. There's still things that I think kids need to learn about society, what's good and what's not, what's polite and what's not, all that kind of stuff, what's kind and what's not. But coming back to the fundamentals of, being Christ-like and having people speak that into your life of like, you're doing a good job, encourage you, hey, don't forget. I think those are what I value along the journey more than any like one piece of advice with parenting is back to the basics of, what are you instilling in your children? So
that's good.
No.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Cheers fun.
Cheers to tea time. Okay. Yes. If you guys have any funny memories or if you can answer any of the questions in the comments, please do. Also, if we should answer any other specific question, let us know. But we are doing the tea time once a week, and we'll see you next week.
Indeed we will. Farewell.